The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of KSMQ Public Service Media Incorporated or its assigns.
She's an icon of agriculture, that dairy princess. On today's Farm Connections, I got the privilege of meeting princesses of today and yesterday. First, I'm joined by two current dairy princesses who explain what it takes to be ambassadors for the dairy industry. Then I visit with the very first Princess K of the Milky Way, who shares some remarkable stories from her reign in the 1950s. We'll also meet the next FFA Student Leader of the Week, all right now on Farm Connections.
Welcome to Farm Connections with your host, Dan Hoffman.
If you've spent any time at county fairs, ag banquets, or any organized farm get-together, chances are you've met a dairy princess. These young people vie for the title, which involves promoting dairy products, educating the public on farming, and of course, appearing in parades. Today I'm joined by two current princesses, Lauren Servick and Cali Smith, as well as Dairy Princess Coordinator Tracy Smith. I learned that even though being a dairy princess is a lot of fun, it also has a serious side. Let's listen in. Tracy, can you tell me why you took this job on? I mean, you're coordinating some wonderful programs and some nice people in the dairy industry, but why did you take the job on?
Partly because our board was small, the ADA board, and our president was doing the president job and the coordinating job. And she was looking to pass that on, and so I decided to take it on. Partly because of that, and partly because I just wanted to, be a little bit more into what goes on with the dairy princesses.
Well, you're doing a good job, as evidenced by Lauren and Cali, but it's the most fun part of the job and rewarding part of the job for you?
Getting to see the quality of girls that we have that come to be in the program, and to see where they take the program as far as their own personal growth and what they do for the dairy industry.
Well, Cali, maybe you can help us with that. This is your second year as royalty, is that correct? And why did you run again?
I ran again because in order to run for Princess K of the Milky Way, you have to be part of your accounting program. I didn't run solely just for that. I also ran because last year, as the Princess of Malheur County, I had just a lot of fun doing it, and it was a great program to be able to educate the public and be out there to really, teach people what the industry really is all about.
I'm thinking this is a great testimonial, Tracy. If somebody came back the second year, you must be doing a great job.
Well, that's what we always hope for. The girls are eligible to run when they are seniors in high school, and they can run every year until they are 24, barring that they're not married. So it is great. That's what we look for and hope for in the program, is to get the girls to enjoy it enough to come back.
Lauren, why did you try out for Dairy Princess?
I was actually approached by one of the ADA board members, and they thought I'd make a good candidate. So I've worked on a farm since I can remember, my family's farm, and I really grew up on the farm, I like to say, and I became really passionate about it and enjoyed it, and it's something I don't want to see die away. So it's a great opportunity for me to put myself out there and teach people about the dairy industry and make an impact on it.
Is June a busy month for dairy princesses?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, first off, it is the month that celebrates dairy, so June Dairy Month. That's just when a lot of events are held. We had all kinds of parades and appreciation dinners and things like that, where we just hand out milk and cheese for people.
Why do you hand out samples of dairy products?
I think people kind of take for granted how nutritious they really are for you. So we kind of like to get the word out there of, just having a simple glass of milk each day is better for you than drinking a can of soda.
So you're promoting health and good food.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. And of course the dairy industry, which you represent.
Yes.
What's good about dairy products? Why should people want to consume and eat and enjoy dairy products?
It's proven that 3 servings of low-fat or non-fat dairy every day is really vital to a healthy diet. And growing up as an athlete, your body gets worn down really fast, and milk's a really great way to get those nutritions back. And it's better than a can of soda. Like, you can choose milk or pop, and milk will always help you, and pop's full of sugars, and it's just an easy go-to snack. I love string cheese and yogurt, and it's something always available, and it's healthy and it tastes good.
Cali, you're a freshman going to be a sophomore at the University of Minnesota.
Yep.
Have you done any programming in the cities or at the University of Minnesota carrying your Dairy Princess role forward?
I met a lot of new people that just, wow, you're from a dairy farm? Just things like that get really excited about. So it's just really sharing your story with other people and where you come from. And mostly I just had a lot of people really wanted to know. They wanted answers to their questions, you know, and there's tons of people that I had in my classes that were so just blind to the industry about animal care and things like that, like, oh, you beat your animals, you're a farmer and stuff like that. And sometimes it's really hard to come at them and approach them. You have to do it in a way where, you know, you're not gonna attack them with right answers and saying they're right. You have to listen to what they have to say, and the best thing to ask them, you know, is where they heard their information from.
Great tip.
Mm-hmm. Just ask them where they heard their information, and if you have seen the video or read the article that they have, it's really easy to, you know, say, you know, that may have happened at this place, but at my farm, we don't do that. You know, so they meet someone who has personal experience with it, and they trust you because they know that you've had that experience.
At the University of Minnesota, have you been involved with Egg Awareness?
Actually, at Egg Awareness Day last year was the first year I did it. It was April, a very cold day in April, and we were out on Church Street, which is an all-pedestrian street right in the middle of Minneapolis, on the Minneapolis campus. And, you know, one thing I love about that educating people is I had a 2-year-old boy. I was standing next to a calf all day, you know, with the help of some of the other girls that were there who are also raised on dairy farms. And this little boy comes up and says, Mommy, Mommy, look, a cow, you know. He was really excited. So I told him a little about the cow. He was really young, so I didn't tell him too much, just, you know, that this is a 6-month-old calf, and imagine how big you were at 6 months, just kind of comparing it to him. And then about 10, 15 minutes later, this woman walks by who's probably 22 and says, oh, look at that pig, it's so cute. So it's just, there's so many people who are blind to it. So I had to sit down and explain to her, you know, actually this is a dairy cow, and, you know, how everything works, I guess. And she was actually very grateful that I explained it to her, because her friends gave her a lot of grief for saying that it was a pig.
So you educated more than her. It was all her friends as well.
Mm-hmm.
Good job. And all the people she meets.
Yep.
Excellent. That must be fun.
Yeah, it's really, I don't know, that's what I really like about being in this role. And even if I wasn't in this role, I mean, I would still educate people, so.
What's the most enjoyable part of the job so far for you, Lauren?
I guess the best experience that I have that I liked the most was we were at the Blooming Prairie Parade for the 4th of July, and it was so hot out. We were just sweating, me and the other candidates that were out, and we were handing out cold chocolate milk. We had pails full of ice, and we were handing out cold chocolate milk, and all these little kids were just enjoying it because it was like a cold drink on a hot day. And I love to be able to, the product that I worked so hard to produce, I can give it right to my consumer like that. It's neat to see, and it's fun when they're excited about it because it's healthy for them and it's good for them.
It's rewarding for you to see somebody enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Yep.
Awesome.
Very.
One of the things I've noticed, both my wife and I have gone to several banquets, and we'll watch, for example, the year Cali was first running, and then at the end of the year, a 12-month cycle, we've noticed a growth in poise and confidence and communication skills. Do you have some programming during the year that helps that happen for the young ladies?
A little bit, yes. You know, we start off when they are running for the Princess. They actually have to do a personal interview, a mock radio interview, and and then a speech in order to be judged for to decide who gets to be princess. So that's, some training there involved. It's also training on my end because I have to, if they need it, help them with their speech or what to talk about in their speech, that kind of thing. But once they have become a candidate for the program, they are also eligible to go to the May event up in St. Joseph. And that actually is an event, again, training for them, and then also is a judging event for the Princess K of the Milky Way.
Lots of opportunity for growth. Things nice to list on the resume. What a neat thing. Well, thanks a lot. I really appreciate all the time you've given us and talking about what it means to be a dairy princess and an ambassador for the dairy industry and a princess coordinator. Not everybody can say they coordinate princesses. That's a fine thing. But Tracy, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah. Callie, thank you. Lauren, thank you. Great job. One of the real treats about hosting Farm Connections is the privilege of meeting interesting people. Right now, I'd like you to join me for a conversation with someone very special to our ag heritage in Minnesota, the very first Princess K of the Milky Way. Ellie Thatcher now lives in Rochester and has shared with me stories about her inaugural reign as princess back in the 1950s. I was struck by how different things were back then, but also how they've remained the same. Come join me in Rochester. Well, thanks for having us, and the reason we're here is to find out more about your reign as Princess K of the Milky Way. And if I understand it right, it started some 57 years ago.
That's right. I hate to admit it, but it is at 57, actually a little earlier, because when the contest first started, I was about 16 or going on 17, close to it, and my 4-H leader said, guess what? I forgot to tell you, I've entered you into the Dairy Princess contest. So that's the first I even knew about it, and we were at Adams, Minnesota, and 28 girls were precipitating, and lo and behold, I came away with the crown. So the next was a regional contest, and that was in Rochester, and there were 10 girls from 10 different areas of dairy farmers, and we had the regional judges for just one day, and surprise, I was the regional and I'm heading for the state Dairy Princess contest. So there were 12 girls from all over the state of Minnesota, and we had 4 days we were judged. We were judged on a radio presentation and knowledge of the dairy industry, poison, a lot of the appearances on TV and so on and so forth. The coronation of the Dairy Princess was held in front of the grandstand before hundreds and hundreds of people, and we had naval escorts all dressed in white. They looked very handsome, and we were driven around in a convertible and then stopped in front of the grandstand. And the ceremony was quite impressive and unbelievable that the crown was placed in my head. So we had been told that this was not just a ride in the parade kind of a contest as far as what our responsibilities would be. It was a full working schedule, and we started right away after the coronation, and I was in the dairy building every day talking to Jerry the talking train, and he would be flirting with the girls and rolling his eyes, and he would talk to me, and the kids would just squeal with delight, and then would go over and have a chance to talk to the Dairy Princess. So that was for the whole duration, and from there it was just a whirlwind. When I look back through the scrapbooks that we have, 5 or 6 of them, it started an unbelievable fairy tale actually kind of experience. So they had a convertible with Princess K of the Milky Way. I had a chaperone and also a driver. And so we started with the June Dairy Month, all the responsibilities. That was the big month. And so, but before that, they had us booked solid as far as going to other state fairs like North or South Dakota. And then we would go to all the dairy meetings, and we went to Chicago for International Dairy Show. And these were all speaking engagements in all the dairy festivals. So it was either talking to all the dairy farmers and the girls and everything. And then when we went out to the International Dairy Show, there were about 3,000 people, and they had me scheduled for a 20-minute presentation on how we were promoting the dairy industry. And so we know we got a lot of coverage at the state fair to begin with, and then it just kept snowballing. Then the most spectacular thing happened in that I got a call from the main office and said, from my chaperone, Eleanor, maybe you better sit down, because in 2 or 3 days you're going to be taking off to Paris. I mean Paris, France. The Premier of France has been saying how much he had milk for every meal, and he wanted his countrymen, especially the youth, to be drinking more milk. And so this was the perfect opportunity for a good promotion where we could have milk, a quart of milk, delivered to New York from every state in the U.S. So by the time this all got organized, we ended up landing in Paris Christmas or New Year's Eve. And I think maybe all the photographers and everything thought it would be a lark to meet an American dairy princess. And so there must have been about 75 at the gate waiting for us. So they were bringing a bottle of champagne, and they said, well, you bring 48 bottles of wine or milk, we'll give you 48 bottles of champagne. So we never did make that exchange, but so they were busy trying to have me hold a bottle of champagne, and then they would take that off and I'd have a bottle of milk. So I met the Premier the next day, made the presentation, and then we had a lot of coverage. I mean, I have gotten letters from veterinarian in Holland wanting a job in my house of cow of milk, marriage proposals, another one that he wanted to send me a good supply of fence posts or whatever it was, if he could come and work for me in the dairy industry or in the dairy farm. So it was quite amazing. They estimated that we probably, with the promotion of milk, we probably generated about $1 million worth of advertising, because we had advertising in all the states of Minnesota, on west coast, everywhere. And then we also had coverage from, well, all of the European countries.
So here's this 16-year-old girl at the time?
No, now I'm 17.
Okay, you're 17 years old. This must have been just an eye-opening experience.
When I went back and looked through some of the scrapbooks that I have accumulated, and it's truly amazing. I mean, it was the experience of a lifetime. Promoting your favorite food was certainly not difficult, and what the farmers needed at that time was advertising the product. Mm-hmm. They were producing more than they could sell, and so we were bringing in the product and telling people how it made your teeth more beautiful, your complexion better, and all the health products that you could ever have would not be anything better than milk or any of the dairy products. So,
Ellie, it must work, because you're still a beautiful ambassador for the dairy industry and milk products. Very much so.
Well,
so
thank you.
I think that's a good testimony to the good products. But you're 17 years of age. You've been to Paris. You've met the Premier. And when we went through the scrapbooks, I saw Hubert Humphrey. I saw Pat Nixon. Mm-hmm. And now you get marriage proposals from Europe. What does Papa say about this?
Well, he was a proud father, but he also kept my feet on the ground. There was no way he was going to let me be impressed with myself. So they just were proud parents. So that was wonderful support.
And they could celebrate with you.
Absolutely.
Well, as first Princess Kay of the Milky Way ever, you were traveling a lot. How did that go with school at Grand Meadow?
I was in school maybe 2 days out of the week, and I had wonderful teachers and administrators that I did homework on the road, and so I was able to keep I ended up with salutatorium, so I was able to keep up with the homework, and so that was very good.
As royalty or past royalty, do you still get invited to some of the functions?
Well, we do. We get invited to. Was crowned county princess in Adams, and we get invited back there almost every year. They have about 450 dairy farmers that attend that coronation. So they're proud to have their daughters be in the contests, and the girls are just as competent as can be. Very, very knowledgeable in the dairy industry. Most of them come now from quite large dairies, so they are really up in their knowledge as far as the dairy products.
This is fantastic, and it must have made a really good impression on you, and it's probably impacted your life and those around you.
Well, I can't deny that. It was such an unbelievable experience that I was very privileged to enjoy.
And I think you've inspired many young people around, probably all over Minnesota and probably the world, to enjoy dairy products and also to aspire to some leadership things. What is the most memorable thing in that year of reign as Princess Kay of the Milky Way?
Seeing and meeting some of the most wonderful people, from the dairy farmers to the important politicians and it's just such a wide range of experiences that I just couldn't, when I went back and reminisce in scrapbooks, it was just like, that was unbelievable. Meeting the farmers, meeting the Dairy Princess girls, meeting all the wonderful people that are in that industry. It was just a wonderful experience.
A jam-packed year, and you showed me your agenda earlier. I don't think you had time to waste.
I would have 40 appearances a day, and sometimes there would be like a breakfast meeting, and then there would be lunch, and then there would be a parade, and then the banquet, and then you'd have to quick get on the road and be prepared to go the next day, the same thing. And sometimes I was a majorette, and sometimes I would have to be in the parade, and then quick jump out, get in my majorette uniform, and lead the band. So that was a little hectic at times. Or we'd have to be in 2 dairy days in the same day, and so we'd have to, with the convertible, I have to change in the convertible with the top up, of course, so that we'd get to the next dairy parade or the next banquet.
As a young person, did those time management skills and communication pieces and learning experiences help you in later careers or jobs or your business?
Yes. I mean, you roll with the punches and you kind of take everything in a stride, and you learn a little multitasking, and so it just, I've had really 2 careers, the last one being in business. My husband and I have a swimming pool business and spas, and before that I was an audiologist, and so worked with, again, all different kinds of people, so I had that experience of meeting and seeing, so it helped in everything that I did from there on.
Well, you've been successful, and I think that role as Princess Kay of the Milky Way probably played a part all through your career, your children, your family.
Definitely.
Certainly congratulations, and thanks so much for sharing your story. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you so much for coming. It was fun reminiscing. Thank you.
KSMQ congratulates our FFA Student Leader of the Week, Vice President of FFA Region 7, Mick Skaar of Hayward.
I'm Mick Skaar from the Albert Lee FFA chapter in Region 7, and I've been Chapter Sentinel, Chapter Vice President, and Chapter President, and this year I'm Region 7 Vice President. The Vice President just kind of helps out the President, make sure everything is in order. During the meetings, you're helping the President maintain order in the room. Try and take on as many jobs as you can, so that, the President obviously has enough to worry about, that I try and help out as much as I can. I've been involved in fruit sales, corn drive. I was the one in charge of that this year for our chapter FFA. I went to a week-long leadership camp by the name of SLCCL a couple of years ago. State fair, county fair, state convention, national convention. The national convention, I've actually been there 3 times now, and I'm hoping to go a 4th time to get my American degree. National convention is held down in Indianapolis, and there's right around 50,000 FFA members there. and it is sweet. I mean, they have a career show that's the size of some small towns, and it's all inside. They have tractors in there, and it's everything that you could think of is in that career show. I've always loved farming. There's pictures of me sleeping on a pillow in a tractor when I was little, and so I've always loved farming, and it's always kind of been that, you know, if there's something ag-related, I'm interested in it. I want to see what it's about. I had heard about this FFA, and it's like, well, what's that about? And once I kind of heard what it was, it's like, well, I want to check this out. This sounds pretty cool. This fall, I'll be attending South Dakota State University in Brookings, and I'm looking at a major in general ag and a minor in agronomy and a minor in crop marketing. And eventually, I'd like to start my own farm.
Thanks for joining me on this special episode of Farm Connections. Agriculture has many faces, and today I was happy to present some of its nicest faces. Actually, I learned quite a bit about dairy princesses and have a renewed respect for the role that they play. I hope you'll look for and thank a dairy princess at the next ag event you attend. See you next time on Farm Connections.